Hello and welcome everyone. Assalamu alaikum and very good evening to all of you. আপনারা যারা সবাই এখন জয়েন করছেন আমাদের সাথে এবং জয়েন করবেন, আপনাদের সবাইকে আমি কোচ কামরুল হাসান আপনাদেরকে স্বাগতম জানাচ্ছি আমাদের আজকের এই পর্বে, যেখানে আমরা কথা বলছি একটা সিরিজ অফ ইভেন্টস, এন্টারপ্রেনারশিপ রোডম্যাপ ফ্রম আইডিয়া টু কমপ্লিশন। অর্থাৎ আমরা যদি কেউ চাই to become an entrepreneur today, so where we should begin and what steps exactly we need to follow. So আমাদের সাথে যারা জয়েন করছেন আজকে আপনাদের জন্য বলছি, আমরা আজকে কথা বলবো the importance of active listening, অর্থাৎ to become entrepreneur today আমরা কিভাবে আমাদের লিসেনিং স্কিলটাকে বাড়াতে পারি, এবং we will give 10 specific tips যেখান থেকে আপনি বুঝতে পারবেন আসলে আমরা এখন কিভাবে শুনি versus what is the active listening looks like. So stay active and stay focused today. So that's what is gonna be tonight's very impactful way actually to improve our listening skills. As usual, with this we have the great partner with this journey, and that is in association with Key Leadership Institute from South Africa, and the two of the gentlemen and gentlewomen, both of them are founders of the Key Leadership Institute, Miss Arthi Moore and Ian Roberts. So as usual, now with us tonight. So let's welcome, and আপনারা যারা শুনছেন সবাইকে স্বাগতম জানাচ্ছি. Say hello with us. So let us have Arthi Moore and Ian Roberts. Lovely Pink.
Assalamu alaikum, namaste, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Lovely to be with all of you again.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for again giving us the opportunity to share with you and to collaborate with our dear friend Kamrul from the Coach Kamrul Hassan Network. It is a privilege to be with you all.
Thank you. So it's similar here. It's a great opportunity and also it's a privilege, to have the program jointly, the 5 pillars of entrepreneurial mastery and self-development series. As all of you see the headlines, we have changed a bit of decoration. Do you like this pink color? Say yes or no. I'm asking all of you. So Arthi is wearing the pink color as well, and Jan is black. So we made it pink and black tonight. Yeah.
No. Red.
That's red.
Red. Okay.
No.
So
I
red
don't
and
like
pink.
pink. I don't like pink.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
being very good. I did not say anything before.
Good. So good to have you tonight. And we were talking about the journey of entrepreneurship, and the importance is getting today because of COVID and the global situations. And we are talking about probably it's a time for the school kids even to learn entrepreneurship. So let alone the, I mean, the adult like us, right? So let me tell a bit in Bangla as well. যেহেতু আজকে আমাদের এই কঠিন সিচুয়েশনে আমরা কথা বলছিলাম, আজকে আমাদের স্কুলের স্টুডেন্ট যারা আছে, ইভেন 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 grade, আমার মনে হয় আজকে তারা এসেছে to know about how to become entrepreneur. কারণ actually I was reading a article today, and it's the Bankers Association of Bangladesh. We have 60 odd banks in Bangladesh, and they have an association. So they have decided, and they have written a letter, the Bankers Association president, and written a letter to every bank managing director and chairman not to recruit any new employees anymore. Further the situation, this is one. Salary cut, this is open. And no training and development, no fixed asset, nothing. It's a series of instructions and guidelines. 2 things has caught me. One is no training budget, no training and development, and stop it. And the thing is no new recruitment, fridge. You see, this is I'm telling to each and every audience that are watching, This is the one industry, this is the signal. I think the similar thing is going to happen more or less for other industries as well. In this time, we're talking about the entrepreneurial mastery, how important it is at Timur and Ian Roberts. The floor is open, and then we're going to deep down into the 10 tips of active listening. This is as a part of our program. So we have 5 pillars, and the first pillar is the personal development. And we'll be talking about the 10 tips for active listening. Akhi and Ian, let's open with this.
Well, I think, what you've just said right now is quite shocking. In this day and age where there is so much trying to level the playing field of bringing men and women together in an environment where we know that just the collaboration of 2 different genders actually improves and strengthens any business platform. And when you look at people and behavior and the way they respond or react to things, men and women react and respond differently. And when you look at our topic today of listening, it makes sense that we come into our everyday interactions with tools that helps us to engage more meaningfully. So for the bank to actually come out with that decree of not even training, and training being something that helps to empower people in development is as an imperative for continuous learning. For them to remove it shows us the importance of what we're creating here. With the 5 pillars of entrepreneurial mastery and self-development series, where a lot of companies are now removing it from their environment, entrepreneurship is going to become one of the key components of helping people to succeed in life rather than survive current situations where companies can't afford it, or they just feel there's not much need for it. And when you look at the platform that we've got, we're talking about everyday tools and things that you can use immediately, and it's practical and it's easy to implement. So I feel that even with where that bank has gone in terms of their decree, gives me hope and makes me grateful that we are on the right track and that we're creating a series that can help people, which means that is not going to be a limiting factor. It's going to be an opening opportunity for more people to come and join us on this platform and help themselves grow if they see it as a choice and a decision that's worthwhile empowering themselves with.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask everyone, those who are watching right now, are you actively thinking today to become an entrepreneur, or are you actively waiting to be employed? So there's a 2 options. Yeah. Actively waiting or actively thinking to become an entrepreneur. Say yes. I'm asking to every one of you. And this is a serious question, because I think this is a great time to actively consider to become entrepreneur. Whatever you have hands, you have legs, you have brains, you have hairs, whatever you have, jump into and actively consider to become an entrepreneur. Jokes apart, seriously, because if we all become trying to become an entrepreneur, then we're creating job, then we're creating the space, or lifeline, the bloods for the economy, for the nation to grow and survive. Ian Roberts, so what is happening there? And then we would come into our pillar of discussion. I've asked everybody, let me see whoever is actually responding with us. So Ian, the timely need and demand.
Yes, I mean, I agree with Arthi and you, of course, as well, and the discussion we had before that already. It is so easy when you hear these figures and you hear that the biggest banks, and they all get together and now there is no jobs for us anymore. The good thing about that is there is no jobs maybe, but there is opportunities. It just depends what you see. Most people, because of the way we're built, as soon as we hear these kind of things, we say, oh no, what's going to happen, and what's going to happen to us now and to our family and to our children, of course, because parents are also worried with these kind of statistics. But we need to change our thinking. We need to put our entrepreneurial hat on, and it's challenging because, first of all, we've never been taught to become entrepreneurs. We've always been, because entrepreneurs need to think why they do it, and how to do it. And in schools, and the education system has taught us, although the education system is good and it's got a purpose, it has taught us what to think. And that is what happens when you actually go into a job. Now, there will still be new jobs created, because if we look back over the last 50 years, I mean, for example, my parents had a music shop with records, those black things. And I remember in the late 70s, when we emigrated to Scotland, CDs had already come in. And before that, we had 8-track big tapes and cassette tapes. And now, where are they all? It's MP4. So a whole new industry actually developed themselves. But there is always something that people need and people want. And entrepreneurs will find what people need and what they want, and they service that need and want. But how will they service that if they don't know where to begin, the skills they need? And it's, of course, in schools, they won't teach that. But now you have access, like to programs like this, and that we're developing together, not only for the good of ourselves, but for the good of everybody who's listening in, and everybody who wants to get the right skills to make sure that they never depend on anybody else for the rest of their life to get a paycheck in their bank. And then and then maybe what happens the next time? Some other financial disaster around the world, which has happened in 2008-9, where hundreds of thousands and millions of jobs were lost. We need to start depending on the person looking in the mirror. And how we're going to do that? Become entrepreneurs. Because there is only two ways in which we can help. We can all be part of the solution. We can all become part of the solution that alleviates, that stops poverty, that stops hunger. And how we're going to do that is by creating jobs and creating more entrepreneurs. And how we're going to do that? Well, that's exactly what the program we're together. In a collaboration we are developing to make sure that you get all the tips and the tools and the skills and the know-how to make sure that by the time you come out on the other end, you know exactly where you are. Maybe you've developed a product or a service or a skill that you can actually sell to others as an entrepreneur, or maybe start a business where you can hire other people who you can provide jobs for. And in groups of entrepreneurs, not everybody will create thousands of jobs, but there will be some of them that create tens and hundreds of thousands of jobs. Is that you listening in? Is that you watching today? Do you want to be that person? Then join us.
Right. So I'll be coming back to Arthi. So I want Arthi to a bit explain our courses, the structure, the pillars, the contents. You get ready to explain a bit. And I'm also, for our audience right now, those who are watching, a small, everybody, those who are watching and joining, watching my my screen in front, another screen, those are watching and joining with us, and I am asking Arthi to to brief the courses, and then last 20 to 30 minutes we'll give you the 10 tips for active listening. Stay with us. We're going to dig down about this active listening tips, tools, and these steps. So a small story I wanted to share with all of you, for all the audience, is the serious story, and this is happening with my family. My son, who is actually yet to be 4 years, and he all the time watches now the YouTube and channels like this. I saw that he's practicing in front of phone, and he's playing with toys and saying, "Hey guys, if you like my work, subscribe my channel." New channel. So he's practicing it. This got a video out. Seriously, he's yet to be 4 years, and he speaks good English, and he's practicing to sell. He builds the blocks and then asking demo. If you like it, subscribe. And I think this is an entrepreneurial mindset. It's needed to be, I think, everywhere. Yeah, let's talk about it, and then Arthi gonna briefly brief the courses we're talking about. So what about this mindset? Do you see this? Our kids are now more agile to have it, to accept it, and to begin it. So I think we the seniors, need to give something a little bit push.
Yes, and wonderful for your son. I mean, that is, of course, I know exactly where he gets it from his father, of course. You set him a great example, and he's following. And I think it is actually becoming easier because 50 years ago, everybody was told, go and do well in school, because the better you do in school, the better job you can have, and you will have that job for life. But as we all know, whatever age we are, some of us already lost our jobs once or twice before and started new careers, maybe lucky enough to still be in the job we were when we left school 30, 40 years ago. But really, a job for life does not really exist anymore, unless you're a funeral director. But I mean, it doesn't really exist anymore in real life, because they say somebody who leaves school now probably will have at least 3 to 4 jobs by the time they retire. So do you want to keep changing jobs, or do you want to get control of your own circumstances and future? And also, it is so much more out in the open. They talk a lot. I mean, 50 years ago, nobody ever talked about entrepreneurship. Now they talk about entrepreneurship and you know, the opportunities you can have. And we hear about YouTubers making an awful lot of money. We're making our podcasters and people who go online and they were never there before. They, you know, somebody sung a song online not a long time ago, and all of it, Justin Timberlake, I think, one of these, and they saw him online and doing a song, and he got discovered and made millions and millions, and everybody now wants to be that next Justin Timberlake, that next Bill Gates, that next person who's developing everything, rather than saying, okay, I want to do well and get a job, and hopefully that job will last me for life. Most people are different. You know, the young people now are thinking differently, and what we need to do, and that our duty, I think it is our duty, not just our privilege, but our duty, to make sure that we help them to get the opportunity, not only to start something, because there is still a lot of fear. They say, I mean, they scare people. They say, oh, you know, any entrepreneur, any person starting a job, in the first 5 years, 80% fail, and the next 5 years, another 80% fail. That means only about 4% ever make it. No, that we need to stop that. We need to make sure that they don't fail. Yes, in anything, some will fail, but we need to make sure that we help most of them, and we help all of them, and give them all the opportunity to succeed. In the end, you know, it is up to the person looking in the mirror. But if we can do all we can between us to help anybody watching this now to become entrepreneurs and become successful entrepreneurs, then they need to do their part and we'll do our part.
Right. The previous entrepreneurial concept versus today's concept totally changed. I think smashed, thrashed, and we had to put it into the trash, right? Because in the previous concept, we got to have a space, you know, so many things, infrastructure. But today is only the cell phone. It's done. I think YouTube, as you said, one of the medium as well is going to be, and today I think those who are kids 6, 7, or maybe 8 years, if my kid below 4 years can think about now, subscribe my channel, and you know, if you like it, we were talking about, me and my wife, if you like it, this is the concept, if you like it, subscribe my channel, you know. So what's gonna be for 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years kids? I think it's now our responsibility to teach them, to show them and guide them, encourage them, and create the way so to become an entrepreneur. Arti, so what's the course that it looks like we're going to bring it for the kids and the young people as well? You know, everybody, you know, maybe mid-40s, mid-50s, mid-60s. There is nothing wrong or nothing right time to begin. If you're watching somebody, you know, in midlife crisis, I often talk about, you know, mid-40s or mid-50s or mid-70s, you know, don't hesitate, please. Throw the hesitation into the dustbin and begin tonight and today with us. Athi, just give us a structure of the program, and then we're going to talk about the 10 tips for active listening. And we want you to consider actively for active businessmen, active entrepreneurship. Athi.
Well, what I love about this, especially with the discussion, when you think about it, we're talking about young people, we're talking about little people, we're also talking about, regardless of whether you've been in a job or you've had salaries or not, you have the ability to become an entrepreneur. And all we're saying that if you follow what we're putting together in terms of the 5 pillars of entrepreneurial mastery and self-development series, we're looking at how we can support every single person, regardless of whether they're coming in as a startup, whether they have an idea, or they've been in entrepreneurship for a while and just need some guidance and support. All we're doing is we're creating a system that, with the 5 pillars, it's very specifically self-development, personal growth, money and mindset, leadership, and entrepreneurship. Now, when we were all discussing this as a team, we worked out where are the 5 areas that are important, imperative, and a must have for any entrepreneur to grow from where they're at to where they deserve to be. And when we look at those 5 different areas, within those 5 pillars, there are different areas that actually lends a lot of value to the way a person can grow emotionally, psychologically, physically, and in every way that allows them to have a success mentality. So when we looked at self-development, we looked at character building skills, we looked at validation, communication, conflict resolution, getting to understand what the communication styles are, vision boarding. When we looked at personal growth, we thought of what role does mindfulness and creating your tribe and your core team, creating boundaries, creating your vision for the future. Where does self-confidence fit in there? How do you react and respond so that you can become a person who embodies the ability to become impactful and have influence in your everyday interactions? Then we looked at money and mindset. Under that, why does it affect entrepreneurship? And we looked at all of the various topics and we thought, well, abundance mentality is a key area for any entrepreneur to succeed. So when we are addressing money and mindset, we thought, okay, personal mastery is a key, financial freedom, finding your why, the concepts of think and grow rich. All of the various people before us who have written many books that help successful entrepreneurs on their journey of success. We've pulled out all of those key aspects from those areas. We put it into that pillar under money and mindset. And then we looked further and we thought leadership is another massive part of those pillars. It is an imperative that self-development, your personal growth, money and mindset, 3 valuable areas. But then you want to be leading teams. You want to be leading the way you connect with people, how you become a person of influence. And so under the leadership pillar, we decided to put in the topics of creating influence, strategy. How do you strategize not for the way everybody else does it, but what works for you and the people in your environment? Why mastermind? The whole point is that you're creating a team of people that you can share ideas and learn from their experience, their failures and their successes. So the importance of that. What is customer discovery? How do you lead with influence? What are the qualities of the leader? How do you retain talent? How do you build values? How do you mediate effectively? So we thought, okay, so no, those are the areas within leadership that led us to the finale of what makes the ultimate entrepreneur. If I had to look at an entrepreneur and say, holistically, this person is somebody I want to follow. This is somebody I want to buy from. This is a specialist. This is somebody who is going to encourage me. This is the person I'm going to build a lifelong relationship with. And so when we looked at what are the value systems and the characteristics of an amazing entrepreneur, under that topic, we decided to develop different areas like value creation. Are you adding value to the world, or are you just looking to add value to your bank account? Totally different concept. And then we looked at what is the business model concept. So if you created a business model canvas, what would it look like? And then building a business platform, everything from your social media development, how to use social media effectively, how to build your brand as a person, as a business, as a concept, as a service. And then we looked at financial freedom. What does it mean to you? The execution of all of these things makes a massive difference as well. So just talking about it is not enough. Implementing, creating, developing, continuously adjusting, that's the implementation phase. And then we looked at the other areas like networking and scalability. Once you've created the perfect foundation platform for your business, how do you scale it? How do you take it to global proportions? How do you impact more lives and even create franchises? So creating a bigger vision of all this, we need those 5 pillars of mastery in terms of entrepreneurship.
And I just made it a pin post. I have just already made it a pin post of of these 5 pillars, and I'm asking to the audience, those who are watching. So among these 5 pillars, I mean, which one you think you liked most? This is the, I have made it. This is the 5 pillars. Under each and every pillar, there would be number of number of areas. Tonight, we're talking about under self-development pillar. We're going to talk about the 10 tips for active listening. Ian Roberts, why don't you talk about the other methods that we know for our audience? We're telling that this is a primary level of entrepreneurship program, and then there would be advanced level of what are the other ways that you're thinking and we are thinking to craft it, like the webinar and other tools inside these programs. And then I'm going to ask Timur to start with the 10 tips.
Yeah. And of course, we want to, the best way I think we can help and support and guide people is to incorporate and make sure that they become an active part of the process. It's not just some system where between the 3 of us, we're going to teach and everybody else is going to sit there listening. No, that never really worked before, I don't think, and it certainly wouldn't work now. So you've already mentioned, there's going to be webinars. And they're going to be interactive. We want more interaction from you than from us. We will start the interaction as facilitator of the webinars, and we want you to come with ideas. We want you to come with the questions. We want you to interact as much as you can, because the more you become part of the system, the more you become part of the solution to become an entrepreneur, the more you will learn, because you learn by doing. It's not just learning by listening. Listening is very important, as we'll go through in a minute. But we will have webinars. We will have all kinds of programs, short
Q&A.
Case study articles.
Yes, articles. We will have Facebook groups where we can actually answer any kind of questions that they have. And the good thing is as well, we don't want to be the only ones answering the questions. We want you to answer the questions, the listeners, for each other, because we don't know everything. But we will be able to get the ball rolling, and then we will also learn in this process, because we need to learn in this process to understand the youth much better, but to give them the opportunity and give a platform where anybody can come and become an entrepreneur by doing all the different things necessary. And if we haven't got it in the process right now, and you as listeners and people watching say, okay, I want this kind of stuff also to come into the process, let us know, because we can change and adapt anything at all to make sure that you as the new budding entrepreneur gets the best possible opportunity to succeed. And that is not all up to us; it is all to all of us. And and of course, as we said, there is so many areas we can do this with. We can have group coaching sessions. Eventually, in the higher levels, we will be able to give one-on-one coaching and mentoring sessions where we can actually sit down with an individual to help them further. But that depends on the levels they actually get into. But it starts with the initial level, where they get access to a lot of material already, and they can become more holistically involved in the whole process, because it is not only the technical skills of an entrepreneur you need, it's the soft skills. It's so much more, and we want to incorporate all of it to make sure that holistically you become an all-round entrepreneur, that you get everything you need to succeed.
Right, and we'll also include the local expertise into this panel as a panel discussion, so that
Yes.
You don't have to think about, okay, these guys are from the international market, what they know about the local market, only I am. So it's not. We'll put the videos, lessons, Q&As, webinars, case studies, local context, international context, digital medias in the 5 areas we have mentioned. And then the local expert, we will bring the local expert inside the program as well. So over to Arti, next 20 minutes, we'll talk about the 10 tips for active listening. And the first one is most important to me, when I was thinking about, what is the major issues today? I'm going to ask everyone. So what is the major issue today we are facing? A lot of chaos, a lot of noise, a lot of frustrations, things are burning. So stay focused. Arthi, let's talk about the burning issue. The number one tips for active listening is stay focused. How do you do that in your eyes?
I'm sorry, were you talking to me?
Yeah. Yeah, listening. Active listening.
No, I'm just joking. Okay, so
That's the
number
part of
one
the
tip is
that's the part of the
focus.
Hmm.
Exactly. I think staying focused, because we get distracted very easily as human beings. It is human nature, and it is not something that we should beat ourselves up about. But once we become aware of how we focus or we do not focus, we realize the impact it has on our ability to communicate effectively. I feel that if we don't stay focused, we allow distractions to occur, we don't quite listen or hear what people were saying to us, and then we give half-baked answers, because then we try to work out, maybe that's what they meant, I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to give an answer. And people can actually see that when you're not focused, when you don't have eye contact and connect with them, they can see that you've been distracted. And when that happens, there's an emotional change that happens for the person on the receiving end, and then they feel disrespected. So staying focused is the number one key to helping people to improve their listening skills.
Right. And if we are not focusing as an entrepreneur in our initial days, I think the business opportunities would go in front of a nose and we'll not be able to sneeze it because we're not focused into it. It will go away. Right. So, Jan, let's talk about the number two tips. That is the where Arthi stopped. Emotions. Detect the customer's emotions, how it is important and why, and how do you actually detect the emotions? What do you want to say?
Yes, of course, that's also very important in many areas. Not only in our own, but also the people we associate with, our customers, the people we want to influence, and the people we get influenced by. But as people, we are emotional human beings. We are emotional beings, and sometimes it gets the better of us when we become emotional about something. We can't focus anymore. The other side of that emotional side is when you are becoming passionate about something. That's a different emotion altogether. But if we're passionate about something, we can focus very, very well. But if we are emotional and on the other side, that sometimes we get challenged, we get angry, we get demoralized, we get sad, all these kind of emotional that can happen, of course. But we need to try and keep most of our emotions in check, and we need to start listening not only to the other people, but we need to listen to ourselves as well. Because we need to make sure that we become stronger from within as well. Because if and when we're going to succeed, we need to make sure that we have the soft skills within us, but also the soft skills to help around us. And that quite often needs a lot of emotional intelligence. And people talk about the EQ and all that kind of stuff, but that emotional intelligence begins within. So it's another area that we really need to strengthen ourselves, because most of us have had enough anxiety, we've had enough fears, we've got enough panic attacks, and all the stuff that is happening right now, and all the stuff that's happened before, and we think we're never going to come out of this, and we're all becoming much more negative about the situation we're in. But as we said already, there is a lot of positive that will come out of this if you actually decide to become positive. But I mean, your emotions, your own emotions, the emotions about your environment, the emotions about the people you are going to be connecting with. It is all becoming very important, and we need to start listening to ourselves but also listening to the people who are going to help us, listening to the people we are going to help, and overall that is going to be very important, because emotion, if we let our emotions get the better of us, we will be very it'll be very tough for us to succeed. And it doesn't mean that we've got to become hard-nosed and we can't do anything. No. We can stay emotional human beings, but we at least make sure that we use our emotions to our betterment, that we actually become stronger with our emotions, and that we connect with other people from the heart level.
Right. So how are customers going to react and engage? It is the reflection through the emotions that comes out, right? Whether they're receiving, what is the perception, that's the those are the things that is pretty important today. And that brings the third step, which is often today it's missing, among particularly, many of us, we are afraid to ask questions, and how important it is, Arti.
Well, I feel that asking questions allows us to get clarity. A lot of times we just accept what somebody says, and we're too shy or too scared to ask the wrong question in case people laugh at us or they belittle us. I know that in the work that I've been doing for so many years, the majority of misunderstanding comes from the fact that people don't ask questions enough to clarify. Is this what you meant? Is this what you needed? Is this what you expected of me? And asking those simple questions, clarifying questions, allows you to get more information. That's all it is. And if you get more information, then you can be more decisive in the choices that you make, in the way you do your work, and how effective you can be or become. And asking questions allows you to then also get a deeper understanding of where the person is coming from, and it improves your ability to communicate more effectively. By just being complacent and then complaining that the person didn't explain themselves properly. They may not have explained themselves properly, but you need to also take the next step, because communication is a two-way process. And so your next step would be to step up and be proactive by asking more questions to find out how you can become better or do better for yourself, and how you can add value to the other person. So if you change your perspective, it's not about they might laugh at me because I don't understand. They might be happy that you asked the question so that they can give you better understanding. And that is how you create a quality environment around you.
Right. So with you, I just want to connect with the audience. So this is the third tips, the asking questions. So we are asking you to ask questions as well. Do you think that this 5 pillar is important? Do you think that listening is important at all, or do you think it's not important at all? So whatever, we're asking you to ask question as well. One of the Harvard research shows our university graduate why they're so successful in the job market, and they found out that the ability of asking the tough questions on the face of reality makes them separated from the above average. So, and I think this is enough evidence for the audience even. So we are afraid of asking questions and doing mistakes, because we think asking means interruptions. Sometimes we think asking means audacity. Sometimes asking means, I am weak. Somebody would get, would think about I'm weak. But I think this is none of them. And that brings the fourth step, which is do not interrupt. Well, somebody's listening. Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes,
I actually interrupted Arti, and then the fourth tool is coming. Do not interrupt.
Yes, again, I mean, every part of that is important. Important because it is so often that we get especially in a group of people, and everybody's got something to say that is important, and quite often we don't wait for each other. we are interrupting each other because we think that what we have got to say is more important than what everybody else has said, or we want to be heard. Sometimes if the boss is in the meeting and we want our bosses to know that we know something and we want to get it out there, and it doesn't matter that somebody else is talking, as soon as we get a chance and they take a breath, we just interrupt. We don't wait and respect the other person with their view and their information, and we just interrupt. And then the other person needs to start again because we're not respecting what is said. So we actually need to actually become much more respectful in a conversation where somebody else is talking. We need to learn to really pay attention to that and stay quiet. Don't start thinking about what we're going to say next, and just learn and listen. And when they are finished, then we get an opportunity to talk as well. And especially if the group is bigger, we also need to make sure that not only that we don't interrupt, but that we make sure that everybody else gets an opportunity to speak as well. So we need to respect each other, listen more than that we talk, and make sure that we only talk when the opportunity arises, not in between other people.
Yes, I will not talk in between. I'll stop. But that brings the interesting proposition, as you said, don't judge or don't preempt, EMT. We will give you all the steps on the comment as soon as we finish. We want you to stay tonight till next 10 minutes or so. We're going to finish it in another 5 tips. So Athi, do not preempt. Often we do.
Are you listening to him? He's given us 10 minutes to go through another 5 tips.
Yeah, well, hi. Go.
I was the hint there.
Just go.
Don't preempt is brilliant because it means that as somebody is talking, don't try and encourage them onto a different part of their conversation. Like, don't change the path of the conversation. So preempting is, what did you mean? No, Karen, no, I really want to hear more about what you said. No, that's brilliant. No, tell me some more. Now, when you were talking about this, that's preempting.
Right.
What you're doing is interrupting, and you're also trying to guide the conversation into where you want it to go. Now, if you listen carefully, the person will finish their conversation. Then you can start a different conversation, but allow somebody to complete what they were saying. Preempting is a way of you interrupting, but it is a habit where we're forcing people to change the subject to something that suits us rather than themselves. Was that quick enough?
Yeah, I think that's good enough. And sometimes when we hear, I'm coming to Jan, and then sometimes when we hear and then we understand, or we rather think that somebody else understood, or both thinks, okay, he understood, or who is telling, he thought, okay, he understood. So what is the solution of that? That is the 6th step, actually, recapping. How do we recap? Often we say paraphrase. It's over to you.
Yes, I mean, and in coaching, we do it a lot, of course, because we rephrase and actually tell the person who said something, some of the stuff they said, to show that we actually listened. Now, I mean, I had a conversation with a man not so long ago, and he said, I now realize the importance of listening, because if my wife asked me at night and gave me a test in saying, what did I tell you today? He says, I would fail badly because I often just hear, I don't listen. There's a big difference between hearing and listening. But if you listen well and intently, to everything that is said, then you can easily actually say something back. I said, if I just heard you saying this, and you tell them what they just said, is that true? And is this really what you want to do? Is if I hear right, is that what you said? And that shows respect to the person who just given you information, who just talked to you and talked with you, and for whatever reason, if then you can actually recap some of the stuff in any way at all, just to show them to show the other person respectfully that you've actually been listening, and that really does an awful lot of good to the person who just actually gave you that information in the first place.
Very interesting tips. The next one is Really interesting. And the tip number 7. Tip number 7 is really interesting. And I'm going to ask the audience, are you ready with pen and paper when you are actually, going to have an important meeting and conversation? And even tonight, do you think that this is going to bring values? Pen and paper at the ready, Arti?
Well, wherever I go and wherever I sit, anywhere in the house, regardless, I've always got a pen and paper. So whichever bag I pick up, even in the car, there's always there's pen and paper. And the reason why it is so important is that I've realized that as people are talking, if I make key notes or bullet points, and if I've got different color pens, and I just do bubbles or circles on my piece of paper, it allows me to internalize the information they're giving to me so that I have a deeper understanding and knowledge of what they're trying to say to me. So if we went back to recapping key facts, I can then say to them, during the conversation you mentioned this, I wrote it down. Is this what you meant? Is this what you were talking about? So writing things down allows you to show that you were listening with respect, exactly as Jan was saying, shows you that you're being respectful. And then when you paraphrase and you ask them questions, you're asking specifically based on what they said, not your interpretation of it. And the pen and paper means that you, even if you cannot understand what somebody is saying in that moment, if you've written it down, you can always go back to them when they finish the point, because you can't interrupt them. You can always go back and say, okay, I wrote something that made sense with what you said. Can you explain more clearly? Because I was really intrigued by that point. By saying things like that, you encourage somebody to actually have a meaningful, deep conversation with you. So yes, pen and paper also allows you to capture the brilliance of something people said. It allows you to stimulate your own thinking, but it also allows you to take that into your life and then practice it. Because not all listening means that you've got to respond. If you are actively listening, what you're doing is you're looking for the lessons that is going to be within the person's conversation, a snippet of a saying or something that really meant something to you, and you're keeping it as a record for yourself. John Maxwell does that when he says in the law of design, write down things and then file it in your to-do list, your to-think list, something that you would like to have and embody in your life. Having a pen and paper with you wherever you go allows you to capture those thoughts and use it in your own life.
And that brings to tip number 8.
Say it again.
Tip number 8. What is that? You have said it already, so it's easy for Ian now. So
Yes, saying it again. It is sometimes necessary, because especially if you've got a lot of information to share with people, sometimes they can't comprehend it all. So it is important that if you are training people, or like when we go and do a training, that sometimes if we have an awful lot of information to share in one session, then it might be necessary not only to exactly say it again the way we said it in the first place, but maybe take a little different direction and say it again in a different way. That might be because not everybody learns the same way. So maybe for some people we need to say it again in picture form, like talk a little bit more in quickly, but in a short period. And others people who need to hear more words, we might need to lengthen it a little bit. But whichever way we do that, if we can sometimes the most important parts we had in our bullets, if we can say them again and remind the people who are listening about the main bullets, and then if they've got questions afterwards, they can always ask. But the main things need to at least stick with them. And as Artie already said, we need to write these things down, because if you write things down after you've heard them, then it knows that the people know that you've actually paid attention. But when you write them down, it sticks in your mind more than just listening to them. So it's very important too.
Correct. What about watching this stereotyping? Watch the stereotype. What is it all about?
Well,
Because,
I love
I
that.
think Yeah, because I think it's a new to many of us, especially the audiences. So just say it's something about it. The 9 tips.
Well, what I like about that tip, watch the stereotype, is because we're talking about how do we connect and listen carefully without judging somebody. So when we think about our unconscious biases and our own prejudices, I mean, listening to a man or a woman, immediately people who've got issues with gender will actually stereotype them and say, what do all people of that culture know, that religion know? What does this person know because they're young or they're old or they're a man or a woman? What do they know because they're older than us, or these children are younger than us? What do they know? So when you're talking with when you are not careful about watching your stereotypes, it is very easy to only listen partially, and you do not give people your full attention. It means that you're only listening for the sake of listening, and that is when you fall into the trap of hearing what they're saying, but you're not listening to the depth of what the person is saying. And that can be very detrimental to any relationship building platform you're creating. It could be detrimental to your business, to how you want to create an ongoing professional environment. And when you think about it, if I had to sit over here and say, what do men know? It means that I'm not actually listening to the brilliance of your mind and the thoughtfulness of your words. I'm listening with a stereotype. And if I sit here and I say, what do women know? And what does she know? How can she call herself an entrepreneur leader? My stereotypes are going to prevent me from listening to whatever knowledge or wisdom or experience is being imparted in that moment. And I prevent myself from growing. So watching your stereotypes is an important one because you are listening without judgment. You are becoming a disciplined learner who is being intentional about the way they listen.
So this is something to deal with internally. So, right. And that brings the last things. Often, actually, there are so many disruptions around, and we're not aware about it. So that's the number 10. Jan, if you want to talk about it, be aware of listening barriers.
Yes, and as you already said, there are so many of them. And it's not that we're not interested in what the other person has to say. It's just that we're not listening properly. And yes, we're hearing the noises, but as I said already, between hearing and listening, that's totally different. Hearing is just the sounds. Listening is actually making sense of those sounds. That's the difference. So how do we make sense of those sounds? It's not by sitting and watching something on the television or on Facebook when somebody's talking to us, like especially when our children as well, and they say, Dad, 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 yes, I'm listening. And they know you're not because you're doing something else. And they can ask you a question and you say, yes, we'll do this in a minute. And you don't even know what you said. So there are so many barriers. Also, another barrier, of course, is when we've already talked about this, when you are so busy trying to figure out in your head what you're going to say next. And when you get an opportunity, you got to talk. Because you're so busy trying to think of an answer or something important, or that you think is important that other people need to hear, it creates a barrier in your head because you, rather than listening intently to what somebody's going to say, and from there, I mean, when these barriers are there, we are just not taking part in a proper conversation. Wars have been started because of miscommunication, because people didn't listen, because people didn't understand, and because people didn't want to understand. And it's always about how can we listen better if we learn to understand before being understood, and be interested before you're going to be interesting. And that starts with listening well.
Okay, well, I'm listening well. The whole purpose of listening is not what it is. It's not the responding, but to be, but to understand, right? But to understand. But often we actually listen to respond and react rather than understanding. So first we got to be, first we got to be understood, or first we need to understand.
I think
Which one
first
actually
is to
comes?
understand. first to understand.
Oh yeah, always.
Always. You will never be understood unless you actually understand who you're speaking to and where their stance is and what their beliefs are and how they feel about you. How do you expect somebody to understand you if they don't even like you? So if you're seeking to be understood by the wrong person, you will have a very lonely life feeling rejected by them. So I
You're
think
right.
we need to seek to understand first before we impose our need to be understood by people. Maybe by understanding where they come from, we can practice compassion and empathy. And if we listen carefully and with respect, we will actually encourage them to treat us in the exact same way. And if we did this intently and with intention, and we did
Yeah.
not stereotype them and we made them feel respected, then they will do the exact same thing for us. And that is when we will feel understood when they respond carefully to us by mirroring our own interactions with them.
Absolutely. So that brings, yeah, you want to add something, Ian?
No, just that, I mean, it's another quote which I think really belongs with that part is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And how do they know that? Is not by you talking, it's by you listening. Ask questions. It's about leadership as well. Leadership is also about building relationships. How do we build relationships? By asking questions. How do we ask better questions? By listening better. So if we listen to understand the other person, we can avoid so many problems around the world. We don't have to talk about religion or color or culture or age or sexuality or whatever anymore. We just have to understand. We have to learn to understand other people as human beings. And if we can do that, we will change and solve a lot of problems. And in entrepreneurship, we also, when we start to work with people, we also need to listen as much as we're going to be teaching and facilitating, because this is something that we're all going to do together.
Absolutely. So that brings to the end of the conversation. I think in today's world, listening is so much underestimated, underrated, while the importance of listening is so valuable. So the quick comments on that, and then we're closing it, because we actually pay so much heed and attention to listening rather than speaking, whereas the value of listening is so much so we actually underestimate the value.
I think so, because when we underestimate the intensity of what we receive in life, we based on how much value did we put in the art of listening. If we actually listen carefully, we could resolve a lot of relationship issues. We can prevent a lot of conflict. We can prevent families breaking up, divorces. We can prevent a lot of cheating. We can prevent a lot of breakdown in companies, communities, cultures, religions, you name it. Everything begins with communication. And it's when we are not listening, we realize that the impact of our not listening is what creates all of these wars within ourselves personally and in our external environment. So if I had to suggest a few steps to follow from the values of listening, I would say the simplicity of what you can do right now in your everyday environment is listen with an open mind. Stop what you're doing, make eye contact and fully engage. Listen objectively. Ask questions, and avoid the temptation to think about what you're going to say next. And if those are the 5 things you can implement right now, it allows you to actually challenge yourself and become more aware of where you are going, where you're heading, and how you can adjust the way people connect with you in your everyday environment. And you can actually implement listening skills right now in that simplicity. Somebody asked on earlier on a question of what is the root of self-development. It's about tuning into your heightened awareness of who you are and what your potential is, and then seeking to tap into that untapped potential by embodying all of the skills that we're teaching right now to help and guide and support them on the journey. So when you look at what is the root of self-development, become aware of your actions and your interactions. See what you can do differently and what can you adjust immediately. Implement what is being taught, and then watch how people then respond to you more positively. That is where your self-development will be seen in a much more deeper way.
Absolutely. Fantastic. We are just completing an hour. So 5 pillars of entrepreneurial mastery and self-development series. And tonight is all about the structure of the program and 10 tips for active listening. I hope and believe that this was, we have been able to add value at least a bit to your listening skills, at least, by understanding the steps. And now it depends on how you're going to practice. I'm talking to the audience and also ourselves as well. So these steps is important, as also important to practice it in the various stages of our life, be it an entrepreneur, be it in service, or be it anywhere on the street, or kids or children, or anything that you do. But I think this is a common phenomena that it's missing in every aspect of listening, every aspect of our life, the tips of active listening. Active listening, we are listening, but hey, are we active? This is a question I want to ask to everybody to answer. If your answer is not, then please watch this video and also stay connected with us and join this program to become the master of your life. Again tonight, thank you, Athi and Jan, for having you with pink and red and black.
No! Red and black. Red and black.
Red and black. Red and black. So pink is the color here, and red is the color you're wearing, and black is the color Jan and myself is wearing. And also I have something, maybe this. so all right. So this is all about pinks, red and black tonight. Tips for active listening. So we're inviting everybody. Thank you. Thank you. So stay well, stay safe in this world, and may God bless all of you. Thank you, Jan and Aarti. And everyone watching on the Facebook, we can't thank you enough for your active listening and watching all the box that we have done. That means all these things that we talked about. Hope it is going to add some value to your life. And stay well, stay safe. Yeah. And until next week.
Share this with your friends, and come and join us.
The 4-year-old said, like and share.
Yeah, like and share. That's it.
Absolutely. Take care. Bye-bye.